Most people get this completely wrong when they leave a narcissist. They think the narcissist moves on easily, finds someone new, starts a new life, and never looks back, while they're the ones lying awake at 2 a.m. questioning everything, wondering if they made the wrong decision. But Carl Jung's work suggests something far more unsettling and far more revealing. When an empath truly walks away, the narcissist doesn't simply move on. They begin to collapse, not always visibly, not always immediately, but psychologically. And that collapse follows a pattern most people never understand, because what you thought was a relationship was not really a relationship in the way you believed it was. It was a system. Jung described something called the persona, the mask every human being uses to function in the world. For most people, that mask is flexible, it adapts, it is not their entire identity. But for a narcissist, that mask is not just a tool, it is survival itself. Because underneath that constructed image is not confidence or strength, but something far more fragile. Something built on shame, emptiness, and a deep, almost unbearable fear of being exposed. So instead of developing a grounded sense of self, they construct a false self, something that appears powerful, charming, and untouchable. But here is a critical flaw in that structure. It cannot sustain itself. It requires constant external input, constant validation, constant emotional energy from someone else to keep it intact. And that is where you came in. You believed you were loving them, supporting them, being patient with them. But on a psychological level, you were doing something much deeper. You were stabilizing them. You were providing emotional safety, validation, understanding. You were absorbing their chaos and returning calm. These qualities are strengths in a healthy relationship. But in this dynamic, they became a resource, something that was not appreciated as a gift, but consumed as fuel. Jung made this distinction very clear. The narcissist does not truly see the other person as a separate individual with their own inner world. They see a function, a mirror reflecting an image they can tolerate, a source that maintains the structure of who they believe themselves to be. And the moment that source begins to disappear, everything starts to shift. When you begin to withdraw, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically, the narcissist senses it almost immediately. There is a disruption in the flow they have come to depend on, and their system reacts as if something essential is being taken away. Suddenly, they become everything you once hoped they could be. They reach out, they apologize, they express vulnerability, they take responsibility. They say the words you waited so long to hear. It feels real, and in a certain sense it is real in the moment, but it is not coming from growth. It is coming from panic. Jung emphasized that this response is not transformation, but a survival mechanism. The false self mobilizing every available resource to prevent its own collapse. And there is a question that reveals the truth behind this shift. If they were capable of showing up like this now, why were they not capable of before, when you were still there asking for the bare minimum? The answer is uncomfortable, but clear. It was never about growth. It was about threat. And panic-driven change never sustains itself. The moment stability returns, the old patterns return with it. If you resist that pull and continue to withdraw, the dynamic takes a darker turn. The desperation that once looked like vulnerability transforms into anger. What was once need becomes attack. This is what Jung referred to as narcissistic injury, the moment when the carefully constructed identity begins to fracture, exposing the very feelings it was built to hide. Shame, inadequacy, and emptiness start to surface, but instead of being processed internally, they are projected outward. And the most convenient place for that projection is you. The person who was once idealized becomes a problem. The story is rewritten in a way that places all responsibility on your shoulders. You are labeled as toxic, manipulative, or incapable of love. And what makes this phase so destabilizing is that it is not always a conscious lie. The narcissist often believes this version of reality because they are seeing their own disowned parts reflected back at them and interpreting that reflection as truth. Then comes the phase that confuses and hurts the most. They appear to move on quickly. A new relationship emerges. A new version of their life is displayed, often in ways that feel deliberately visible. To you, it looks like they have healed, like they are capable of being everything you hoped for, just not with you. This is where self-doubt creeps in most strongly. But Jung's perspective cuts through this illusion. What you are witnessing is not genuine healing. It is replacement. The same psychological structure is being maintained, only now with a different source providing the necessary input. The appearance of happiness is not evidence of change, but a defense against the emptiness that still exists underneath. If you remain absent, if you do not engage, do not return, do not provide even the smallest amount of emotional reinforcement, something deeper begins to unfold. The structure that once seemed so solid starts to weaken at its core. The confidence becomes less convincing. The charm begins to feel forced, and the control they once maintained starts to slip. This is the beginning of disintegration, the phase where the false self can no longer fully sustain itself. What emerges is not a new version of the narcissist, but the underlying reality that was always there, hidden beneath the performance. The sense of stability gives way to inconsistency, sometimes even self-destructive behavior, as they attempt to avoid confronting the emptiness that has now been exposed. And then, in some cases, something unexpected happens. They reach out again, but this time it feels different. The message is simple, direct, and appears genuine. There is no clear manipulation, no obvious attempt to pull you back in, just an acknowledgement of what they did. This is often the most confusing moment, because it feels like real change has finally occurred. But Jung made an important distinction here between what he called crisis insight and true transformation. Crisis insight is a temporary moment of clarity that can occur when defenses weaken enough for a person to briefly see themselves accurately. It feels real because it is real in that moment, but it does not last. As soon as the system stabilizes again, the defenses rebuild and that clarity disappears. True transformation, on the other hand, requires sustained effort, deep self-confrontation, and years of internal work, something very few individuals are willing to commit to. Understanding all of this changes the way you interpret what happened. It reveals that the relationship was never truly about you in the way you thought. Your value, your love, your effort were not the determining factors. The panic you witnessed was not evidence of deep love, but fear of losing a function. The anger was not a reflection of your actions, but a reaction to internal exposure. The apparent collapse is not something you caused, but something that was always embedded within the structure itself. You did not break them by leaving. You simply stopped supporting something that could not stand on its own. And in the middle of all of this, there is a quieter truth that often goes unnoticed. Somewhere along the way, you lost yourself. Not all at once, but gradually, in small compromises, in moments where you chose understanding over boundaries, patience over self-respect, giving over receiving. Your energy, your focus, your sense of identity became organized around maintaining something that was never stable to begin with. So, what you are facing now is not just the aftermath of a relationship, but the process of reclaiming who you are without it. This is where the real work begins. Not in analyzing them endlessly, not in trying to decode their behavior, but in turning that attention back toward yourself, in recognizing where your boundaries were absent, where your sense of worth became tied to being needed, where love became something you felt you had to earn. These realizations are not easy, but they are necessary because they lead to a version of yourself that is more grounded, more aware, and no longer dependent on someone else's validation to feel whole. What lies ahead is not about going back or fixing what was broken. It is about moving forward with clarity, because what you are walking toward now is something that relationship could never provide. Not validation, not closure, but something far more essential. A sense of self that is no longer defined by someone else's needs. A stability that does not depend on external approval. And a clarity that allows you to see the difference between real connection and psychological dependency. And that is the shift that changes everything. Because in the end, the narcissist will become whatever they become without you, and that path is no longer yours to manage or understand. Your path is different now. It is the path of rediscovering yourself, not as you were before, but as someone who has seen through the illusion and come out the other side with something stronger, something more honest, and something real.